Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. Grand Admiral Sean rejoins the channel. Welcome, Sean.
Hello, my friend.
Let's begin our discussion with January 2024. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Rey Palpatine Chapter 4, the Mando movie. Your thoughts on the previous month?
It has been an interesting one, for sure. It feels like we're getting a lot of scattered pieces of stuff, news, statements, whatever, things coming out of Lucasfilm, and none of it seems to be very well organized or coordinated, and all of it is troubling. I mean, the initial comments from "Don't Squeeze the Charmin," right? Her whole thing about I'm going to, bring a woman's perspective to Star Wars or whatever. Time for a woman to shape Star Wars universe. This has all been wildly and passionately debated already on several channels and in the socials. But I'm sure that our friends in the comments, those wonderful soy boys, want to hear my thoughts on that. So I thought I would dive in there first. So we have this great announcement at Celebration with this director, and they bring out Rey, and we're going to have this movie. We're going to bring the new Rey trilogy or a new Rey movie. I don't even know. It wasn't very clear, but everything, there was a lot of questions back then. Just I think about at the time what was her qualifications based on her work or her relationship in the world of fiction or entertainment cinema. I mean, clearly she's established her bona fides as a documentarian and as an activist and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But I think the big question initially was like, what has she done that gives the Lucasfilm leadership the confidence that she's going to be able to handle a major motion picture production? And it took me back to when you watch that documentary about the making of The Last Jedi, and they show throughout that documentary Rian Johnson looking like he was totally out of his element and completely lost when it came to him talking about the budgeting and the scheduling. And they talk about a director and they're like, oh, it's his vision or her vision or their auteur theory or whatever. But talk about how they also have to manage the crew, right? And they have to figure out all these plans and stuff, and managing smaller productions like documentaries and things, great. But you're talking about $300 million, $400 million movie. And so what was her qualification, right? So there was a little bit of rumble about that, and it just kind of disappeared. We had the Ahsoka show to deal with and things like that. But then here we are, January. She shows up on CNN, I think it was. And then she makes that statement. And initially when I heard that, I had the reaction that a lot of people had. You are not the first woman to shape the story. Maybe she was trying to reference the fact that she's hopefully going to be the first female director to survive being hired by Kathleen Kennedy to direct a feature film for Star Wars, because she's not the first one to be hired, but hopefully she's the first one to make it across the finish line. I don't know. But the way that she said it was shape the universe. I thought that was kind of tone deaf and slightly obtuse, and also very unaware of what has come before. And I'm not going to rehash all of this stuff, but it goes back, it starts with Marsha Lucas, and it moves forward with a lot of actresses and producers and creatives and writers and you name it, all the way up to the point of Kathleen Kennedy, who has been running Lucasfilm for the last decade and some change now. There's plenty of women who've been involved, right? And Kathleen Kennedy has made us all very aware of the number of women involved, and she's beat us over the head with the number of women involved. And so it seemed really strange when the next woman who got involved shows up and says, I'm going to be the first woman ever. And so then people started digging, right? Because now you made some people mad, and people started digging. And then, of course, they brought up all these other comments of hers that were not in relation to Star Wars. They're from interviews that she did early on when she was in this activist cinema space of documentary work in her home country. And so I feel like there's some stuff there that might have been taken slightly out of context. However, um, I also don't see anything that shows me that she's not going to bring that same perspective to the Star Wars universe. So that was a big thing, and of course, it caused a great disturbance in the Force, as they say. And the now all of a sudden we get this announcement about this Mando movie. But then sometime shortly after, simultaneously, the Rey movie has now been postponed, right? And there's been a lot of speculation as to why. I'm pretty sure that some of it has to do with the comments, but some of it also apparently has to do with story people, whatever you want to call them, the 10 or 12 people that so far have been writing the script for this movie. None of them have achieved a script yet. The way the director's talking about it, she's in charge of the story or shaping it some. I don't know. So much confusion. It's just we're kind of trying to piece together a trail of what happened here. So you get this Mando movie suddenly announced, this random piece of production art, and then we get a quote from Jon Favreau saying, "Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of the universe," or whatever, which could have been taken from any interview anywhere at any time in his many years of working for Star Wars. And then it turns out that they're like, well, we're trying to save a reservation of Pinewood because apparently we reserved it for the soundstage for filming the Rey movie, but now the script is bad and we can't make our commitments, so we're going to move this other production in that time slot so we don't lose our money. And we're not going to lose our deposit on Pinewood or whatever. Like, it's all very, very strange. I've got a lot of problems with, again, the politics that are coming out of Lucasfilm with all this lady talk, and people get mad at me because I talk about the lady message, but they keep giving us lady message, so I have to keep talking about it. If you want me to stop talking about the lady message, stop hitting me with the lady message, Kathleen. But there's so much stuff that comes out nowadays. I mean, you and I were talking about this and we are kind of joking about it off mic or whatever, but like, it seems like there's been like 25 or 30 shows and movies announced since Kathleen Kennedy took over. It's like every investor meeting and every celebration, she throws like 20 things up against the wall, sees what sticks, and none of it does. And so I've almost got to the point of apathy when it comes to a lot of this crap that's coming out of there, because I'm pretty sure that in 2 years from now, neither of these movies are going to be made. And we'll find in the back of Hollywood Reporter, oh yeah, the Rey movie has been, indefinitely shelved, and Don't Squeeze the Charmin is moving on to her next I Want to Make Men Uncomfortable documentary. Great. Like, so why do we get all worked up in the first place? There's really nothing. There's no there until it's there, and I'm not really sure what's going on.
Both films getting shelved, so you doubt Mando will reach the big screen?
I do. I doubt that it will make it to the big screen. It may be filmed at Pinewood. It probably will be the best looking season of Mando because it's going to actually use real, like, large scale sets. But I think it'll wind up being a straight D+. They're going to put something together. It's probably going to, if it's anything like season 3 of Mandalorian, it's not going to test well with anybody. So then they're not going to spend the money distributing it to theaters. Right, so then it's going to be like a special event on D+, right? And maybe they'll sell it as a Blu-ray. And I don't even know if it's going to get made. What they did in season 3 is they've taken Din Djarin sort of out of the picture in the sense that he is no longer the titular character. He is not the Mandalorian we're talking about now. The Mandalorian we're talking about now is Bo-Katan, right? So while I'm all about more Katie Sackhoff in my life, I think that we put him out to rest at the end of season 3. He's got a house in the country. His kid plays in the front yard. Like, hey, we're done. But we still have to resolve the reunification of the Mandalorian people and the Darksaber and all that stuff. So the show is going forward as a Bo-Katan centric show. It has to. So what is this movie about? There's nothing for them to do now. This is all being rearranged and moved around. It could be just related to the fact that Pedro Pascal doesn't want to be a part of Star Wars anymore, and his shooting schedule and his commitments to other films and shows is very full. Like, he has a very full calendar, and so the only time they can get him in is now, as opposed to later. and he doesn't want to do the thing anyway. So it's, I don't know, is this just a big setup to kill off his character, and then that way we don't ever have to have him come back? His price per picture is going up exponentially as well. All that is just very strange. And so if it winds up being a thing where we're going to get the last couple of shots of him with the helmet off, I don't know. Does that warrant a theatrical release? I don't know. Where's Rian Johnson's trilogy? Where's the Taika Waititi movie? Where's Rogue Squadron? Where's, I can keep going, right? These things, all these pictures, they're coming. These pictures are coming. Oh, it's going to be about this. Oh, it's going to be about, no, it's until I can either stream it or buy a ticket for it at a box office and sit in a chair with a bag of popcorn. It's not real. All of this bait and switch garbage and all of these false announcements and all the games that they've been playing with the investors and with the public and everything to try and like garner favor or get someone not to sell their stock or whatever. And they come up with all this magical BS that they throw at you. And then it's like 6 weeks later, they don't even talk about it anymore. And they're like, oh, we're going to have a new show. And it's going to be called this. And it's going to be about when you're like, what happened to the other one? I was actually kind of looking forward to that one. And I don't put it beyond Disney / Lucasfilm to bury something on Disney Plus. If they get close to the day, they might have full intent, right? Hey, we're going to put this out. It's going to be a theatrical release. It'll be the first Star Wars movie in however many, 5 years or 8 years. They're going to get close to it, and they're going to have like the Dial of Destiny situation. They're going to have like 75 screenings with test audiences. That's all going to fail and suck. Everybody's going to hate it. You're going to have kids burning their Grogu dolls on the steps of Disney's headquarters or whatever. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna put it on D+. Right? It's going to be or a simultaneous release or something, so they can bury the numbers as they always do. The way these studios do this stuff, they hide viewership numbers. They don't have to share actual viewership numbers for the streaming service. So they can claim that their movie was a wild success opening weekend. You're like, yeah, but you only sold 25 tickets in the theaters. And they're like, oh, you should have seen the streaming numbers, right? So would you be kind enough to share them with us? Oh, no, that's proprietary information. We can't give it. They could be facing instead of going into a Dial of Destiny situation where they spend like 3 times the actual budget on reshoots and trying to make it less obnoxious, and then putting it out in the theaters and having a bomb anyway. They might just do a one and done on it and be like, look, the test audiences hate it. Just throw it on D+. It's a long weekend or whatever. Maybe people get around to watching it, right? And then they'll make up some claim, right? Like, oh, the toxic fandom, all right, some shit like that. So anyway, I don't see it happening. If it gets there, great. It's a miracle. I would love to see another Star Wars movie in the theater at some time in my life before I'm dead. But I'm not sure if that's the one I want to go see.
Was this a way to re-engage Favreau and Pascal? We'll do a film. Oh, okay.
Possibly. Pedro Pascal is getting very full of himself, and his price is going way up, and he's everywhere. Maybe it's a way to restructure his contract in a way to get him to fulfill it. Because I think that, they had him on for however many seasons or whatever, he signed up for it, but he's getting whatever rate he got a couple of years ago. So maybe they say, look, we'll repackage the thing and we'll turn it into a movie, which then either allows us to reopen your contract or renegotiate your contract or to add additional compensation because it's different type of work. I don't know how the Screen Actors Guild works. Maybe it is just an enticement to him, like, please stay around, please be our daddy, and then giving him a bunch more money. And then maybe it is also a thing for Favreau, because Favreau has been out of the picture. He's disappeared. He's on a blue milk carton. Okay? Like, nobody's seen him or heard from him in forever. Minuscule participation in Celebration last year.
Oh yeah, he was there. He came out on stage with Filoni, one panel, and then there are a lot of clips of quick interviews.
Right.
Collider, The Verge,
Collider, yeah,
where he's talking for 30 seconds. Yeah, no, exactly. But so he was there, but to my eyes, he seemed less than enthusiastic.
I mean, Filoni was everywhere. He was all over the place. He was cowboying hard. Favreau came out. The two of them came out. I saw that. Then it was all this other stuff, all the talk about the Acolyte, and it's like droning on and on and on, and the endless shit about the Acolyte. And then we got, Harvey Weinstein's, I don't know, whatever her role is. She's out there talking about how I'm a girl and doing girl things, right? So we got all that junk, and then of course we got the more girl junk, and then we got the Ray stuff. But it was like Favreau wasn't really around. And compared to previous years, and yes, he didn't have a lot of stuff out, right? Because they were just either wrapping up or had just wrapped up season 3, I think, or maybe it was season 3 was going to air shortly after, but sort of at the end of their work, right? So compared to previous years, he was not involved. And you would think there would be more interviews, right? Mainstream media, and I'm not talking about access media or even entertainment media like, Hollywood Reporter and stuff like that. They're out there talking to the Ray movie director about a movie that's hasn't even gone into production yet, right? They're having interviews with her talking about stuff. Why the hell isn't Favreau out there hitting the bricks and talking about the Mando movie now that it's been announced? Where is he? That's another reason why I think this movie isn't real. It's not going to happen. I don't think any of this is real. They are so bogged down in the behind the scenes crazy that is the Ray movie or movies or whatever that's even supposed to be. I don't even know. But they're so bogged down in that they can't get a script. They don't really have. I mean, who's in this movie? We don't know. They don't even have a cast. They don't have characters. They don't have a cast. All they know is Daisy Ridley's back because they called her up and they're like, bro, you got to come to Celebration. We got a dress picked out for you. We'll give you a boy haircut. She hasn't really been doing many interviews lately either. And when she does, she winds up causing more of a problem for Lucasfilm because she says stuff like, oh, there's no sexism in Star Wars. What the hell are you talking about? And people are like, shut up, Daisy. That's not the story. That's not the narrative. We're girl power central down here. Kathleen Kennedy says the Force is female. We need dinosaurs. And it's like, you're not getting the message, girl. Right. And so now her movie's been moved. In the meantime, they're like, hey, everybody, don't you love Grogu? Remember Grogu? Buy tickets now. But that's it. That's all they got. What's the story about? Nobody knows. What's the name of the movie? Well, right now we're calling it Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, that's original. Okay. Couldn't call it like the Battle of Mandalore or something like that? A Star Wars story? Like, no? Oh, okay. There's nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all lies. It's all BS. And we've talked about this. I believe you released some excellent videos on this. You've been very busy in my absence. You've redoubled your efforts. But we talked about the money laundering operation that goes on in Hollywood. I think there's a lot of money going into Disney Lucasfilm right now for Star Wars projects, but are there any Star Wars projects actually getting made? That's an excellent question. You got a lot of people on contract to be writing movies. Ryan Johnson, Taika Waititi, right? Just whoever's working the Ray cycle, all 12 of those writers that have been fired and rehired and fired again. There's a lot of money going out the door. A lot of people feverishly working on something, but I see no results. Okay, all right. Sorry, moving on. Sorry, it has been a while since we spoke. There's a lot of pent-up tension here,
That's
so
true.
I apologize to our fans. The trolls in the comments can keep hating. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I feast upon thine tears.
All right, so we talked about January. February will bring The Bad Batch 3.
All right.
We've watched the preview. Mount
Yes, we
Tantus, Ventress returns. I hear Tech's death was a sham. What is your perspective on the final season?
I don't know. So my perspective is we need to finish this. So this is the final season. Great. Thank you. Thank you for telling us that. So I don't have to suffer through like seasons 7 through 12 or whatever. We need some kind of closure to the story, right? Like I don't really know what that looks like or what it is. And I almost don't care. But there are some things about this teaser trailer or whatever that we got that I find interesting. I guess we're going to have Cad Bane. So that's going to be people are going to be confused by that. I think there's the hardcore people like us, and the sweaties out there, like we know the timeline, we know the order that things are appearing, but there's, normies or people who aren't as in tune to or who aren't necessarily paying that deep level of attention to timeline. They're just like, ooh, a Star Wars, I want to watch it, right? And they will have seen the Book of Boba Luga, and saw that he got killed, And then now they're going to be like, wait, he's back, but no, it actually happened before that. But that's okay, right? Don't worry. Ask your local sweaty; they'll explain it. But the thing that is interesting to me is Asajj Ventress. I mean, I like the character. I really enjoyed her character in both versions of the Clone Wars, and not unlike Darth Maul, there was a bunch of storylines about her that were or had been written or were being fleshed out to be written into subsequent seasons of the Clone Wars show before it got unceremoniously canceled. And then, some of those things made it out into expanded universe formatting, like Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir was a comic. What is it? Dark Disciple is the book about Asajj Ventress that came out. That was supposed to be based on some of those scripts. And so there's a lot of stuff going on out there, but I'm interested to see what they do with her character. She's actually the only thing really that's I find compelling or that I really want, that I'm really looking forward to. Like I didn't like The Bad Batch. It had moments. There was some moments in there that were great and fine. But I just really didn't like it as much as Rebels or the original Clone Wars. I didn't connect with the characters very much. I felt like that even though it looked like the Clone Wars, it felt very much like a children's show when it came to the level of writing. It was more Resistance level writing and plotting than Clone Wars kind of level or other Star Wars canon. But again, the Asajj Ventress thing is interesting to me. I am looking forward to seeing her character, what she's been up to. She kind of just disappeared in the original Clone Wars show, right? Because the show got canceled and she had kind of gone through this arc and she is now kind of a bounty hunter and I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. I'm looking forward to seeing how they try and finish this out, stick the landing, so to speak, for the show. The show is weird. You had mentioned that Tech's death is a farce. It is. I found it very strange that they showed his goggles in the trailer. So it shows me then that the person who brought the goggles or showed the goggles to the team has seen or found Tech's body, or at least where it landed, okay, or didn't land, as the case may be. But by showing you the goggles in the trailer, that there's this inevitable comeback, which then falls into this whole question, or it's really become a meme now about, no one's ever gone in Star Wars. And it was kind of a throwaway line in a film to try and be like, oh, people, the dead will always be with us, and it turned into, no, really, that nobody's ever gone because they're going to come back in the next movie, or they're going to come back in the next scene, or there'll be a 6 comic story arc about their return, or, oh wait, there's an action figure, so I don't know. It's if they bring him back, it's just going to feel stupid. It's just going to feel like, here we go again, right? Here's another character that we thought died or we saw die or whatever, and now they're back, and it's not. And man, I don't know. I mean, I'm going into a dark place here. I'm thinking about Sabine and her lightsaber wound in the Ahsoka show, and I'm thinking about Darth Maul. As much as I love Darth Maul, don't you get me wrong, he's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars of all time, but he was cut in half, dude. Sorry. And don't tell me his rage kept him alive. He didn't even have his stomach or his bowels, okay? Rage keeps me going until I get hungry or I have to go pee. But anyway, so he fell from, 6 miles up in the air on that thing. And I don't know, did a space whale fly through and catch him? I don't know. I don't care. It's going to all be just as stupid. Whatever contrivance they come up with, right? It's like, well, you couldn't see below the clouds. You don't know it's there. It's taking an element from George Lucas that used to be a positive influence and turning it into a negative influence. And what I mean is, George Lucas was an enthusiast of the Saturday serial films, installment stories. They would run an episode before a film in the theater, and so you get to see The Shadow or Batman or Crimson Ghost or something like that, and Flash Gordon, and there would be some tragic end to our hero at the end of every 20-minute feature. Batman's car would go off the cliff, or Flash Gordon's spaceship would explode, or whatever. And it was like, whoa, what's going to happen to our heroes? Tune in next week. And there was a little bit of flavor of that in the Clone Wars with the narrator and stuff, and it was a fun influence. But it really is an absurdity, and it's become a joke of bad storytelling. But this has now become the staple or the go-to of Star Wars. Well, we're going to have this moment, so you can have this moment where you feel a certain type of way about a character because you think they're dead, but then either 20 minutes later in the movie or next week's episode, they're back walking around and telling you some story about, I thought really hard about the Force and I got better. It's like, dude, we cut you into 6 pieces and we threw you into an incinerator, and you're like, yeah, but I thought about the Force and got better. I'm all healed now. Well, that's just weird, right? And so if they're going to do this again with Tech, first of all, I don't think anybody was really emotionally attached to him. I don't think anybody emotionally attached to anybody in that show. But you don't see the housewife contingent running around buying plushies of Tech. They're buying plushies of Grogu. So I don't think he's like resonating with the kids or whatever. So I don't think anybody misses him much. But, they're going to bring him back, and it's going to be this big thing, and Omega's going to cry. And she's going to be like, oh, Tick, you back, Tick. Oh, I missed you, Tick. Well, you were the only one, girl. Nobody cares, right? And it's just going to be another joke, and it's going to be another meme, and it's just going to be another stain on the legacy of Star Wars. Now, this brings me to another conversation about canon, but it's in relation to the Asajj Ventress situation, okay? There are people who will be out there shouting at this podcast going, well, Sean, but you're excited about Asajj Ventress coming back. Well, she's dead, too. He'll bring back a dead girl, right? And I'll say, oh, I'm very sorry. Novels don't count. Comic books don't count. And Star Wars Insider Magazine doesn't count. And whatever else they say on Wikipedia doesn't count. Because if you go with the canon, as described by George Lucas, she was in some of the last episodes of season 6 or 5, I think 5 actually it was, sorry, of Clone Wars. And then we never heard from her character again. And don't tell me about the Disney novel, and don't tell me about the comic books, and don't tell me about any of this other crap. That's not canon. That's not real. So just because she dies in a book, saving Quinlan Voss, her lover, that's not real. That's not canon. So she's not dead, according to that. So she's coming back. Now, the question is, what are they going to do with her? Are they going to kill her off at the end of this show? Are they going to spin her off into a new series? Because, hey, she's a girl boss too, don't you know? And, hey, she's got yellow lightsabers now like Ray. I don't know. Again, just take whatever the worst possible thing you could think in your mind, the worst possible scenario, and Disney is going to do it, and they're going to make a 3-movie trilogy out of it.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, by rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.